Thank you so much, everyone. And it's always exciting to come in front of the community and talk about what is one of my favorite things, which has been my favorite thing for a year since I started learning a little bit more about faith tech and this new way of building. And Kevin kind of actually did a really great job of introducing some aspects of it. And the first question that I probably want to ask is, what is create? I mean, what are we talking about here? But when you talk about create, you think about it as a community. And Kevin mentioned about FaithTech is a practicing community, a community that wants to practice redemptive technology. And when we're thinking about what it is, there's a uniquely Jesus way of building technology. As Justin said, it's not simply just taking Agile and dipping it in scripture and pulling it out. I really like that analogy, actually. Um, but it's a redemptive way, and it's a way that actually you want to infuse faith into the entire subset of whether from design to actually development. And it's not just simply embedding the biblical beliefs and the values into how you create, but it's essentially, if you do it that way, it's going to infuse and truly align with what God's vision is the world. Because since the creation and when all of these things happen, this kind of redemption that's been going on over time. And we believe that if we actually build in a way that is uniquely Jesus centered, using what we call create, that it's going to lead to a transformation. And it's a transformation not only in the individuals and in the community, but also in actually what you build. And so that's what we call create. It's a product development cycle. And it's not just about, oh, we are actually building a product, but it's also an idea, an opportunity to go into disciple making and disciple forming journey as you move towards Jesus in everything you do. And so you'll see that in a lot of the language that is used, it's about relationship. And I had many opportunities to actually see this in action. So I can attest to the fact that rate is actually a great way to not only build in a biblical way, but also to build a community that is transformative. A lot of this is actually codified in the Faith Tech playbook. And if you haven't got a chance to catch up with it, there should be a link that's shared out in chat. And it goes through, actually unpacks this whole essence of what the playbook is, which I'm actually going to dive into it. It's a very quick read if you have time, but I'll unpack a few of the things in there. But essentially, the methodology that's outlined in the playbook is it's founded on belief, and we believe that teams in the community can do it together. Once again, there is a way that we can build as image bearers that is not going to transform us, but it's also going to transform the products that we build. And if we're believing to see a Jesus revival awaken in and through tech, I believe that this is like an essential thing that we can do, just infuse the way that we build in using redemptive technology. And we want to start off by putting together a rhythm, and that's what we're trying to do with Create. Some of you who are on this event took part last October when we started a Create event, and that was like a 4 week point in time where we ran through and we used some of the things that I'm going to be talking about to build our projects. We want it to be something that is practicing. So we don't want it to be just an event. We want it to be something that we are doing as a rhythm, that we continually just infuse this into the way that we build. It becomes a rhythm, it becomes a part of who we are. So again, a different way of building. And when we are thinking about a different way of building, why? I always want to ask the question, why? It's important because I believe this is actually one of my favorite verses. I keep coming back to this when I'm always challenged about why am I doing certain things. But I believe that we are created in God's image. And as Kevin said, because of that, when we see something wrong in the world, we're not just going to sit on the sidelines. We want to step in as image bearers. We want to follow the example of Jesus who came down and even God who sent his son and to basically do something instead of just standing there and just pointing fingers. So in this way, we want to partner with God in the redeeming of the redemption of the world that he's actually doing. This is a greater story that we are privileged, as Kevin said, to play a small part in. And this is something that God has prepared for each and every one of you. He has prepared a way for you to basically something that he's put in your hand to do. He's uniquely created you to do something and to be a part of this tapestry that is weaving. So I didn't wear my t-shirt today, forgot to, but it said we were created by the creator to create. So that's like a tagline that I always come back to. And what does that mean exactly? So how? So I believe that there's a redemptive way. And so this redemptive way is how we define the problems that we seek to solve. And this is a way that expresses what we value and what we believe. And as image bearers, it describes what is the framework, what is the blueprint, what do we aspire to be as image bearers. It includes this redemptive way, includes our belief, the language, the shared language that we will use in how we create in the world. And this again will help us not just build and transform, but also take what we've learned and bring it back into the workplace. In that way, we are not building in and it's coming through us, but that way we can actually transform our places of work. So this is what we want to do, and we want to do it in a faithful world of technology. But I want to ask us a question then. Okay, what is the problem that we are trying to solve? We look at two problems that we're trying to solve with this redemptive way of building. One is called the killer app trap, and one is the faith and work gap. And I'll talk about a couple of them. And there's a belief out there that, you know what, technology is going to be able to solve all the problems we have. And you've probably, if you've been listening to the news for the last year and a half, you've probably seen an acceleration in this way of thinking with some of the things that have been coming up with AI. I don't know. If you have a problem with this, yeah, tech can solve that. Political systems broken, yeah, technology is going to be able to take care of that. You're feeling lonely and depressed, there's an app for that. I mean, that's kind of like what we do. This promise of technology that people have been promised is just puts our faith in technology. It puts our faith in what we build. So the danger is this deception. It moves us away from thinking about on our faith in Jesus, and we fall into this trap. And a lot of this is solutioning. It's just based on basically just worshiping what we create versus worshiping God, our creator. So this killer app trap, it's a posture and it's something that we need to reorient ourselves to and just move away from that. You'll see this outlined in the playbook in more detail. And it's just the part of the playbook that talks about how do you move away from that way of thinking. And if we think about things in a uniquely Jesus-centered way, it's going to free us from that false deception. When we're thinking about technology and building, the second problem that we see is this faith and work gap. So as Kevin said earlier on, sometimes you're in the workplace and nobody really understands your faith. Or you're part of like your church and you go there and don't really understand what you do. They don't understand tech quite deeply. So you end up doing things that feel like, yeah, I feel like there's something missing. I could learn more. I know I was talking to somebody the other day where I said I had an aha moment when somebody gave me the word that, oh, there's this thing called a digital missionary. And I'm like, what is a digital missionary? And that was like an aha moment for me because then I realized that I didn't have to quit my job when I was working at the tech industry at that time and go be a missionary. I thought that you could only do God's work if you were not in the tech field. Well, that is a problem, and that is something that a lot of people may not know. So, what we want to do is we want to be able, as image bearers, to bring your whole self, to be able to not just be part here and a part there, but just to be able to give your whole self into this redemptive way of building. And it's a way of living, it's a way of creating to make you more like Jesus, both at work and in your church. It's like bringing your whole self together. So, this is the second problem that we are thinking the redemptive way can solve. And as we back up, I'm always interested to find out how did we get to this redemptive way. Starting off, there's this model that we talk about where we think about three ways of technology. And if you've been in technology long enough, you see that sometimes it seems like things kind of like follow this process. People, when they're actually building or even when they're experiencing technology as users, there's like three different experiences that you can get. And each of them come with their own set of beliefs, their values, and also the tools that are built with. And we call them as like reckless, responsible, and redemptive. Now, the reckless way of building typically says that we are going to There's this kind of like saying, we're going to move fast. We're going to build things as fast as possible. And if something breaks, oh well. And a lot of people when they're building early on, this is sort of like the approach that they have, not taking care of who it is who's going to be uh, basically kind of run over by this way of thinking. You're not really thinking about who you're building it for. Often this is done sometimes because they want to iterate fast, but sometimes it's just because it's a land grab thing. You want to build things as fast as possible. You want to go viral as quickly as possible. There's sometimes no care or taken about what is the long-term harm that can actually happen to this. So you're just building without thinking things through. And it's almost like exploitative. It's like, okay, I win, you lose, and you're basically looking to extract value from this. That's kind of like the pattern that you sometimes see with technologies when you think about it in this reckless way, and people are thought of as commodities. You're just basically being used to get to a certain point. And some of the tools and that are built and the services that are built out of these, when they're built out in this reckless way, without thinking things through, they end up causing harm and advancing harm. And in a way, it moves people away from God. And if you look back to a lot of the different technologies, some of them have come like that. And if you look forward to some of the technologies that are being built today, you can almost see this happening again and again. So that's the reckless way. And then the second one is responsible. And this is for people who kind of want to take a step back, pause and reflect and think about the ethics, the values, the consequences, who's being affected by the way you build. And it's like a kind of like a slow down. Let's think about fixing things. Let's see who's being harmed. And this way of building, it's at best, it's basically just taking something that's broken and almost like band-aiding on top of each other. And in a way, some of the values that it talks about, it's like equal sum game. We're looking for equity. We want an outcome that actually works well for everyone. It's like common grace, and I think that's the way that you can think about it. And you think about we don't want anyone to be harmed. And in this technology, people are viewed as equals. And there's a commitment to treating everyone equally. And it seeks to make sure that when you're developing technology, that it works well for everyone. The tools are usually built to try to advance human flourishing and they're looking at what is the potential impact to the people and society. So this is almost like much better, obviously, than building in a reckless way. But obviously, we know that there's a better way. And the better way is the redemptive technology design. And it's rooted in who we are. And when we look at what we're trying to build as image bearers and the dependence on the Spirit of God, we're going to go above and beyond reckless and responsible because we're looking at this sacrificial posture. We want to sacrifice who we are. It's rooted in this value of love. We want to bless people. I could sacrifice myself. You win. I mean, Jesus died on the cross for us just to bring us into a relationship with Him. What do I give of myself that can actually bless you? How can other people benefit? It views people as image bearers of God. The why of why we're doing this is so clear. I mean, we are created in God's image, so we are going to sacrificial love the people that we're creating for. And the tools that we create with, these are tools that are going to advance love. We want to make sure that people are people who love God and want to love people deeply. And we want to express that in what we build. And of course, sometimes this all kind of gets muddied up, like, the example of social media. It has its good points, it's had its bad points. There are some things that are good about this technology or, it's bad about that technology. So what do we do in this muddied world? I mean, how do we actually think of things through and make sure that we are doing the best we can? And that's where we believe that there are some things that we can think about when we're operating in this way, things that we can actually put in mind when we're building. And so we want to commit to number one, pursuing the truth. And we do not want to ever accept reckless any technology that is exploiting people. We want to bring truth to light. We want to shed light into where is deception happening. So we want to create when we're creating technology, we want to ask why when we sense something is not right. The second commitment is we want to build redemptively, and we want to not be critics. We want to actually dive in and help, kind of like redeem what it is that we build. Even at times, we might even say, no, you don't really want to build technology because that's not aligning with our vision. So this is the commitment that we want to bring in light. So this is all kind of like setting up the stage for like, why do we want to build redemptively? But as we commit ourselves to this and to building redemptively, We want to also commit to building technology and living according to the Spirit of God. And so we know we want to desire what the Spirit desires because that's what we were created to do. So we are building products that advance love. So we always want to ask the question, how is this tool helping others? How is this tool helping people become people who love God more deeply? And with as we commit to this, we are going to be living this verse. And we are created by the Creator to create. And so we want to do exactly what God wants us to do. So we've talked about the problems we saw. We talked about the killer app trap, and we talked about how this doesn't solve everything. We also talked about the faith and work gap, things that we want to coexist, how we build as image bearers. So we know that we want to solve for these two problems, and we kind of like, how do we bring this all together? So this is what we call the 4D cycle. So the 4D cycle just basically brings you through how you go from design to development and how you even like show what is success look like in a different way. And it's outlined in what's like we call the discover, the discern, develop, and demonstrate. And each one of these has a spiritual foundation. It's a method that you want to follow through. It's exercises and tools that help you complete the step. And it's the journey of building redemptively, and that's where it starts. And that's where we're going to start today as we kind of like map out what is the rhythm that we're going to try to go through each of these. So starting with the step one today, diving a little bit more into discover. So when you actually start on a problem statement or a challenge or something that's breaking your heart, something that you've seen out there that you want to work on, usually, at least I know I have, speaking for myself, you want to dive into like solutioning. I'm going to solve the problem. I'm just going to go dive in as quickly as possible. Sometimes if you're a developer, you may want to just build it from scratch without actually going in and seeing, is there anything there that's already been done? And sometimes you're not even thinking about the effect of what you're building. So, it's good to have that passion. It's good to just be like really excited about going there. But it's always really good. This is where we want to step back and just think about what it is we're building. And we want to think about who we're building it for, why we're building it to, and take it through the lens of this redemptive process. And a really good example of that is we think about Nehemiah. So Nehemiah, if you know, he was during the time when the the Jews had actually been taken into exile, and he actually came back when he heard that the walls of Jerusalem had actually been under disrepair, and he actually got a chance to go back, and so that's where the story begins. There was like a clear problem. Walls were broken down. Israel could not actually go back to Israel to Jerusalem. They couldn't enter. They couldn't go back into worship. So he, deeply sorrowful about this, got a chance to actually go back and play a role in rebuilding it. But before he did that, he came to God with a lament. So I know sometimes when you start with a problem that you're trying to solve, you may actually think a little bit about the solution. You might think about what you want to do. It might actually like be something that really kind of tears at you. But the question is, how much are you feeling not just the pain of what you're building for, but the pain of who you might be actually experiencing it when you're done? So we want to present this problem to God, to Jesus. We want to invite the Holy Spirit into the process of responding to this. And the example of Nehemiah actually echoes pretty well. And so he shows us that there is a time and there's a place where you want to lament, you want to be compassionate about the problem. And there's a beautiful thing that's laid out in Nehemiah 1 where he goes through this approach of bringing things to God, recalling what God has done in the past, thinking of through where he has played a role in it, even if he didn't do it directly. It might have been his like Nehemiah's part example. It might have been his forefathers, his ancestors, but he just deeply felt and he committed to, yes, there's something that I have been played a role. So as we go from putting God at the center, thinking about God, bringing it to God, recalling God's faithfulness, knowing that God is the only one who can actually make this right. He's the only one who can make this show you how you can do this. you're orienting yourself in such a great way that you are now kind of like tapping into what God can do in this particular solution. He might actually give you something completely new that you did not even think about. He might even open your heart and the team that you're building with into who actually needs to see this. He might even tell you something that you did not even think about. So that's the posture that we want to do in this very first exercise of Discover. So to kind of get into like what that looks like, um, I will actually take you through like a lemon practice, and it's just a simple process that you can actually do together with your team and community. You can craft a lament for whatever it is that you're working on. Perhaps you've already started working on a particular project already, but you can always step back and start thinking things through in case you want to kind of go through this. And it just guides your team through like a scripture-driven approach, inviting Jesus into it. Now, quickly, I always like to quickly show people what something might look like. So I'm going to quickly show you, just kind of walking through a lament. And this is based on, we put together the playbook I mentioned, which is like a short manifesto, like that talks about the problems that we are trying to solve as a community. Of then we have an accompaniment on workbook, which the link is, and the workbook is just supposed to kind of very quickly like prompt you through exercises and maybe just make the playbook be more practical. So I'm just going to walk you through a quick lament from that. So from the screen, so here's the workbook, and the workbook is set up in different sections that actually mirrors the 4D process. There's some parts in the overview. I'm just going to dive straight into the Discover where we have the exercises. And as you're thinking through your projects, whatever it is that you're going to be working on, the lament practice is what I want to zero in on. And there's many ways that you can do this, and there's very many ways that you can do this. I've done it different things. I've actually just gone in, taken like a blank document, wrote in all of the things that I wanted to talk through, and then just prayed to God and walked through it. I've actually even just recorded myself after I've kind of like internalized all the things that I wanted to talk through and done that. But there's also, if you wanted to do it as a team and wanted to kind of go through it, you can actually go in there. I just quickly went through one earlier on today, so I'll just step back a few things. But if you go through this exercise, which is in the workbook, so in here there is like a guided form if you wanted to so do it. And I just did this for this project that I'm working on. What's this project? So here's a project that is kind of like a meta thing. So as part of the workbook that we released recently, it's only in English. I would love to get more people to translate it. So what if we had a project that could get people to potentially contribute and make this site localized in different languages? So the quick description of the project there. So that's me thinking around, okay, this is what I'm thinking I want to do. What if I wanted to write a lament? What would that look like? So here, if you actually start through this guided form, it'll just give you a prompt. You can go and view the video if you want to. But here, it'll just prompt you the same question. So in this case, I just said, I want to acknowledge him as holy. I just say something really small, just make it something that's heartfelt. And I address him, I acknowledge him. I can go in and express him any anger. We've launched this workbook, help people live out this work, but it's only in English right now, and there's so many people missing out. You can make it your own for whatever your project is. Going back to even how this workbook came to get it to be, it's like God has been faithful. Even how the thing came to be, God has been faithful. Just putting things in the recalling all the things that is done is another step. Step 4 is just make it clear. What is it that you want? We want you to send the right people. Can you get this workbook translated in all these different languages? All of these communities could benefit. And these are things that we know that you can do. And then, why should you intervene? God, you know everything. You know where the people are. Even as we pray today, you're already sending people out there. So you are the one who can get this done. We need people here. God, you have to intervene. And then just like, praise him in advance. So this is kind of like just that playbook with exercise that you can walk through. And if you just fill out this form, it'll send you like a copy. You can do it as a team. You can do it together, you can edit it, and you can craft it. And then you have like your quick little lament exercise. And so that's just like a quick prompt I'd love for you to actually do as part of the team when you're going through this. So this is the quick lament exercise demo. I just wanted to show you what it might look like, and you can make it your own for your own team. So with that, I just wanted to actually get a chance to bring a few projects that are on stage. These are people who we call out who can potentially come and just share the projects that they have needs for. By no means is this an exhaustive list. So if you came on this event and then you have some other projects that you want to share, we'll give you the opportunity potentially. You can have after the session ends, you can kind of aggregate or congregate on a table and then maybe split up into separate tables to discuss that. But what we'd love for you to do, what I'd love to do now is to just bring up a couple of projects to just pitch and let us know what they need help with. So I will continue sharing, and as you bring up, oh, it says you're not seeing our screen. Oh, I'm sorry. So nobody was seeing the screen. That's too bad. But can we bring up the people, Kevin, who can probably bring the, oh, Angie said you can see my screen. All right. So we got like the people who wanted to pitch the projects, and first project is Banda. So Chris, if, is Chris there? Or is it David? All right, we're gonna just bring Chris up and David.
Oh. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Oh, hey there. My name is Christopher Russo. It's a pleasure to meet you all. For this segment, I want to introduce Bond Health, the Bond Health project, and the development of the Bond Health mobile application. So let me just give you a little background on Bond Health. Just give me one sec. Just let me get my notes. So basically, what is Bond Health? Bond Health is a nonprofit organization focused on improving healthcare access in low resource settings, particularly in Africa. The organization's primary goal is to empower small medical clinics in the slums, informal settlements, and rural areas by providing them with affordable and robust healthcare management IT solutions. Bond Health's main product, Bond Go, is a cloud-based clinic management system designed to help clinics operate more efficiently by automating tasks like inventory management and patient billing. This helps reduce waste, prevent theft, and ensure that clinics can provide continuous care by keeping essential medicines and supplies in stock. Ultimately, this improves healthcare access for vulnerable communities and helps clinics remain sustainable despite the challenging conditions they operate in. Founded on the belief that technology can play a significant role in addressing healthcare challenges in impoverished areas, Bonnet Health works to create solutions that save time and money while improving the quality of care provided to patients. For this project, which we started early last year, we wish to build a mobile application to help make it easier for patients as well as healthcare providers register patients when they access the clinic, as well as outreach to places that patients have difficulty reaching to healthcare facilities. We need people who are experienced in React JS, as well as people who have experience in mobile application development. Thank you so much, and I look forward to anyone who's interested in participating in this project. God bless, and have a great night.
yeah, thanks, Chris. And we'll have tables also ready afterwards for people to go ask Chris questions. So next we've got Mission. Hope I'm saying it right. David?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm trying to turning on my video. Okay, I
Yeah,
think
we see you.
you can see me. Okay, thank you. So thank you, Christina. Okay, Mission is a project that is very connected with pillars of FaithTech. In the playbook FaithTech, we see that we aim to redeem technology. That's one of the pillars that unites us. Kevin and Christine talked about that. So mission in a high level is very simple to explain. It's redeeming virtual connections. And connections in essence our relationships. God made us relational and social beings from the beginning, but these days that concept has deteriorated too much. We want to redeem about how we relate to each other virtually. And for that, we, as children of God, must set an example of authentic relationships. And that's what we want to achieve with Mission. We know that relationships go beyond the digital. In fact, they start with the one to one in our home, in our local church, in a virtual space. Must be the faithful reflection of that. That's also part of the focus of mission, building on the foundation of existing relationships, local churches. In addition, we want to break the paradigm that social networks are to show what you don't have. In mission, the focus is who you are and what God says about us, not showing you have or don't have, not your house, nor your dressing, not your cars, nor your
Okay, I thought it was just me. Uh, all right, so David, we couldn't hear you. Is your audio back on? Okay, maybe I'll just read the rest of the slides, and we can probably join David for the thing. So there's a lot of features that Mission kind of needs to kind of continue working on the project. The list is here, everywhere from like the UI UX to even just like some things around LLMs and OpenAI, looking at building things with WordPress. Marketing skills, as you can see, this is a very big project and need a lot of help to get this done. So we do hope that you can actually connect with the Mission folks on the table. David, I don't know if you're back. If not, yeah, we'll hopefully be able to connect with David and the project. So as we said, we're going to have breakouts just in a few minutes where you have a chance to jump on and learn more about any one of the projects, or if there are any other projects that you have, just join the table and kind of let us know. You can definitely brainstorm and talk with each other. And the goal is, as we break out into them, as you connect with people, potentially either start thinking about the lament or just schedule time in your next meeting to walk through the lament. It's just a great exercise that we want you to walk through. And just think about what is, even as you can, if you have a chance, maybe it won't be this time, but think about your lament as a team. If you want and put together the project team, if you get like enough folks or join a team, think about what roles that you could assign to those folks. Make sure you can actually check out on the QR code and sign up as volunteers so we can connect you with the project and create or join the Slack channel for your project. It should be one for each one of the ones that are being represented today. And then what we have, this was just kind of like the first session of four as we walk through the 4D cycle. So in a couple of weeks, we actually want to go through into the next step, which is the discern. And that's the next step where we start to think about, we've gone through the lament. Now, how do we actually figure out which types of technology we use and don't use at all? And then upcoming, we'll kick off like the develop. And then the 11th is kind of like a little one that we usually do these monthlies, but the 11th is kind of like the odd one out just so that we can put one in there so we could go through the lessons. So we could spend up quite a bit of time giving teams a chance to work on their continue working on their project in the develop stage. And then during the October one, we're going to have kind of like a really special one where we get a chance for teams to just give us updates on where they are and maybe even just tell us stories of what they've learned so far. And then the big one we're trying to do in December is a chance to actually go through the demonstrate and showcase some of the work that we have done. So that's what we have in store for the upcoming as we go through what we are hoping is just going to be like another really fun time to kind of like create and unlock what it is that God has for us.